I'm sorry, but your carbureted bike doesn't run as good as these. Okay, here we go. It's angry rant time. I am sick and tired of the internet poo-pooing on KTM fuel-injected two-strokes. I've got 3 of the best running bikes I've ever seen right here. These are the 23 KTM XC TBI bikes. I've got the 300XC, the 250XC, the 125XC. This is the 2nd generation of KTM's fuel-injected bikes, and you cannot find a better running two-stroke. I'm sorry, but your carbureted bike doesn't run as good as these. And guess what? Here's another thing. I spend every day talking to people where they say, oh, I'm thinking about getting a new bike, but I'm worried about this fuel-injected thing or whatever. And I'm going, okay, here's the problem. The problem is there are a few people that maybe compared their TPI bike, their KTM TPI fuel-injected bike, to a day 25 years ago on a perfect day when their YZ250 ran absolutely bloody perfect that day with that carburetor. And then they're comparing all the other bikes after that to that one magical day. What they're not telling you is the very next day the temperature changed or the altitude changed and that carbureted bike didn't run that good. Guess what? The TPI bikes and the TBI bikes, they run nearly flawless all the time. That's the thing they're not telling you. In KTM's first version of the TPI bikes, some of those bikes actually required some tuning. Some of them didn't run 100% right out of the gate. They ran about 90, 95%, and then if you had some patience with it, you'd spend a little bit of time tuning the thing, and then it ran amazing everywhere all the time. Compare that to a carbureted bike, and look, I've got nothing wrong with carbureted bikes. Sherco makes an awesome bike. Beta makes an awesome bike. Heck, so many of the bikes that I've had have been carbureted bikes, and they're really, really great for the simplicity, but they require more tuning than these fuel-injected bikes. So it's like, okay, you spend a little bit of time tuning your fuel-injected bike, and now the thing runs like a screaming eagle all the time, everywhere. And in what I'm calling KTM's 2nd generation of fuel-injected two-strokes in the TBI era, that's the 23 models on the XCs, the 23 and newer. These things, they run better than any bike I have ever had right out of the box, and I haven't done jack crap to them. I said this back in 2018 when they first introduced the TPI fuel-injected two-strokes. I said that KTM is going to save two-strokes. If two-strokes are going to be saved, it's because of what KTM is doing, what they were forced to do in reality by bringing us a fuel-injected bike. Now, with these TBI bikes, they've even removed the oil pump. So it was like, there were so many things that people had to complain about. They're like, it's getting too complex, it's adding too much weight, we're getting an oil pump, which is another failure point. And yes, those things are actually true. It is more complex, it does add weight. And the oil pump was a concern for a lot of people because they're like, if the oil pump fails, my motor's gonna burn down. That's true. Well, how many oil pumps failed? Some did, I'm sure. I've had people email me, but I had more than 20, around 20 of these TPI bikes. My buddies had these TPI bikes. Between me and my tighter group of riding friends, we have more than 2,000 hours of TPI. None of us ever had a single problem with our TPI bikes. And now, here with the 2nd gen of the TBI bikes, newsflash, you've never had a two-stroke that made more power than this. Your YZ250 didn't make more power than this. I mean, maybe if you had a CR500 or a KX500, but those things are beasts and there's a reason why you couldn't even ride it. These things, it's usable power, it's crazy, crazy good. And it's so frustrating me. I haven't been able to figure out why the internet, some of the people, and you know who you are, have just sat here and poo-pooed what KTM is doing. Newsflash, people. If you didn't have KTM pushing this forward, I'm not sure that we'd have like the market being saturated by Sherco and Beta. There wouldn't have been enough people out there to even like make those companies viable. I could be totally wrong, but what I'm saying is I feel like me watching this industry for the past 12 years, you can say what you want about KTM. You can hate them, you can do whatever you want. And I'm not saying they do everything right. There's a lot of stuff KTM does that pisses me off. But they're the biggest player in the industry. They're the ones that are pushing the ball forward more and faster than any of the other dirt bike manufacturers in the off-road community. Yamaha's doing nothing. They've kept their YZ250, they turned it into YZ250X. couple updates here and there. Kawasaki did nothing, they dropped it. Honda did nothing, they dropped it. Yamaha or Suzuki did nothing, they dropped it. And yes, we have Sherco now saturating the market more. We have Beta saturating the market more. Even TM. I have a deposit on a TM bike. It's a fuel injected TM. That will be here soon. But guess what? None of this happens without KTM saving the bloody two-stroke for us. And so all of you that are sitting there complaining about EFI on two-strokes, get with the freaking program. Get with the times. It's here, and if we're going to have two-strokes, and if they're going to live, if they're going to be a viable option for us into the future, for me and for our kids, it's because KTM is putting fuel injection on them, and they are running better than any two-stroke has ever run. And I am on the record with that. This 300XC, the 250XC, and the 125XC here in this shop are the best running motors I have ever had. It's time to stop complaining about KTM and the fuel injection. No, it's not perfect. But they've been massaging it and getting it better with updated mapping and updated sensors and everything constantly. Okay, so if you're on the fence and you're like, should I get a TPI bike, which is the previous version of this? I'm looking in the used market. Should I get a TPI bike? I'm scared of it. Stop being scared. The TPI bikes were incredible. And if yours doesn't run perfect, then I would suggest that you put an idle screw in the thing so that you can adjust the idle independent of the air bypass screw, which is that thing on the side of the throttle body. Now that you've got the idle screw in there, now let's adjust that air bypass screw similar to how we would adjust the air screw on a carburetor. Once you've got that bike run, and we're talking about running that bike, getting it to run really good from idle up to about, a few thousand RPMs, up to, quarter throttle or whatever. Get that part cleaned up. Once you get that part cleaned up, then take a power valve key and start working on the mid-range of the bike by adjusting that power valve. If you spend an hour with that bike, that TPI bike, adjusting first the air bypass screw, and then secondly the power valve, you will be able to get that bike to run absolutely amazing. I'm telling you, you can. And then with these TBI bikes, the 2023 XC and forward, it's an electronic power valve. It's absolutely insane. It's a throttle body fuel injection. It's absolutely insane. These are pre-mix bikes, so there's no oil pump to fail. I mean, it's almost like they've just looked at the things that we've been complaining about and they're like, they fixed it. As far as the motor goes. Now, as far as like chassis and frame and other things, yeah, I'm not saying they did everything right, but let's be clear. These two-stroke motors behind me are freaking amazing. And if you're still complaining about how KTM is ruining two-strokes, you need to check yourself. You need to actually get with the program and ride one of these things. Ride one of these things and it will shut your mouth, okay? I'm sorry, I'm passionate, but every day I get emails from people that are confused because of BS crap information on the internet. Oh, it's gonna blow up. Oh, it sucks. Oh, this, oh, that. I'm like, stop listening to the internet, which is weird because I'm on the internet. But I'm just pushing the message out there. These suckers are incredible. And if we're gonna have two-strokes, it's gonna be because they've been saved by EFI. Period. Full stop. Thanks for tuning in. Leave a single track.